5. Mayor Porco, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Mr. Abrams, may we have the roll call, please?
Yes, Madam President. Mr. Bacon. Present. Mr. Baoki. Present. Mr. Costa.
Present.
Mr. Erbaldinger.
Present.
Mr. Fosbrink.
Present.
Mr. Lawrence.
Present.
President Martin.
Present.
And Mayor Porco.
Present.
Thank you. Are we ready to start the public hearings, Mr. Corbel?
Ready?
And with Steptoe and Johnson, I represent the applicant Caswell Properties.
Could you please speak into the microphone?
Is that better?
Oh, yes.
Okay, let's move
Sorry, it's
closer.
kind of short and you're tall.
Mr. Regan, if you could hold on 1 second, I'm just going to do a couple things for the record and then you guys can make your presentation. We'll go from there. Okay. I'm going to call to order the hearing, Borough Council on the petition to amend the zoning ordinance and zoning map, and a hearing on 2 proposed zoning amendment ordinances. The petition to amend the zoning ordinance was submitted by Caswell Properties LLC for a property located at 2060 Ardmore Boulevard, Allegheny County, block and lot number 300-H-160 in the borough's S2 zoning district. The petition seeks a revision of the borough zoning map and the zoning district designation of the property from S2 Special District to B1 Commercial District. We'll refer to that as the rezoning application. The petition seeks in the alternative a text amendment to the borough's zoning ordinance, which would bifurcate the existing automotive service station use into major and minor uses. It would provide definitions for automotive service station major and automotive service station minor, and permit the major use by conditional use in the B1 district and the minor use by right in the B1 and S2 districts. We'll refer to that as the zoning text amendment application. This public hearing will also address the 2 ordinances that are proposed as a result of their petition, Caswell Properties petition, to amend the zoning ordinance. The first proposed ordinance would amend Chapter 27 of the Forest Hills Borough Code to revise the zoning map contained therein to change the zoning district designation of 2060 Ardmore Boulevard from S2 Special to B1 Commercial District. The second proposed ordinance, the text amendment ordinance, would amend Chapter 27 of the Borough Code of Ordinances, again to bifurcate the existing automotive service station use into major and minor, as I previously described. The petition was made in accordance with Section 27-1305 of the Borough Zoning Ordinance, which states the procedure for a landowner initiation of an amendment to the Borough Zoning Ordinance and map. Tonight's hearing was advertised. The notice was provided to the applicant and the neighboring property owners pursuant to the requirements of the PA Municipalities Planning Code. And in addition, I will enter into the record Borough Council exhibits A through G, and I have a binder here for you, Mr. Regan, and I have one for the court reporter. I will go through and just sort of briefly explain what they are. Exhibit A is a letter dated November 19th, 2024 to Mr. Abrams from Mr. Regan, seeking this application to amend the zoning map or asking for a text amendment. B is the public notice. that was advertised on May 1st and May 8th. Exhibit C is a photograph of the posting of the property of this public notice. Exhibit D is a letter from, I think it's from Mr. Abrams to Caswell Properties, letting them know about this evening's proceedings. Exhibit E is a letter dated March 24th, 2025. It's from Paul Kimakata, the chair of the the Borough Planning Commission, indicating the decision of, or recommendation, I should say, of the Borough Planning Commission. Exhibit F is for the Borough Planning Commission recommendation as to the text amendment. E is for the rezoning, and G, G is the letter transmitting the proposed ordinances to the Allegheny County Department of Economic Development as is required. And the county department did not provide comments to this within the statutory timeframe. But that's all I have to say to get this matter teed up. Mr. Regan, I know you're here for the applicant. We will turn this over to you here for a second. I can tell you that from the perspective of council, they are familiar with the draft ordinances. I don't think we need a 101, but it's your record. You make whatever record you want. We don't view this as a capital case, but it's up to you. I think council is interested, and you guys can all correct me if I'm wrong. We're interested in the whys and the whats you may do if either of these amendments are adopted by council. So with that, I turn the case over to you, Mr. Regan.
Thank you, Mr. Corbel. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly. Okay, yeah, we filed the application on November 19th on behalf of Caswell Properties. Client purchased the property October 3rd of 2019 with the intention of continuing to operate Drew's Restaurant. Ran into the same problem that most every other business owner ran into, business closures as a result of COVID-19. Mr. Caswell will be providing further testimony as to the impacts of that and also the construction on Ardmore Boulevard for 18 months had on the business. I also have with me Susan Gill and Dan Lyons with Century 21. Had the listing for this property since August of 2023 and have a list of the interested parties, and it doesn't even cover a full page. We sought, in my opinion, the simplest solution is the zoning map change. I think it provides the benefit of getting this property back on the market, productive business on the property, whereas the text amendment wouldn't just apply to our property, it would apply to every other property in the S2 district. So to me, I think it's in the best interest of the community. If you're inclined to agree with one of the amendments, our preference is the zoning map change, which is the one that the Planning Commission recommended by a vote of 3-2 at the January 30th meeting. First, going to call Mr. Caswell here. Just even over the nature of this is.
Regan, if we can, before we go, if anybody else is testifying, including you, Mr. Caswell, I'd like the court reporter to swear everybody in if we can at this time. So if someone from Century 21 is testifying, you could stand.
And the property is 0.9 acres, of which only 0.6 of it is usable because to the rear of the property, right behind the parking lot, is where the steeply wooded slope starts. So you have size limitations that further limits the marketability of the property. There were, you'll hear Dan and or Susan testify as to some of the interested parties like Get-Go, which is the Get-Go version of a car wash, all found that the size of the lot was just too small for their needs. So that's one of the other complicating factors with this property. And also, we think the simplest solution is to a
Yes, please.
October of 2019.
and why did Caswell purchase?
My family and I would go to Drew's quite often. We loved the restaurant. I'm a chef. I've been in the food business pretty much my whole life. And we thought it was going to be a wonderful business to purchase. So that's what we did.
And what were the challenges that
We had 4 or 5 months of wonderful business right out of the chute. COVID hit us pretty hard in March of 2020. So from October of 2019 until March of 2020, we did okay. It looked like it was going to do great. COVID hit and the bottom fell out of the restaurant market. We were required to close for several months. Then we were able to open only for takeout only. And additionally, then it was limited seating for about 8 months after that. All of those factors obviously cost us money. We did not make any money in that process. We lost money.
and during staffing issues like during that time?
You're probably all aware that restaurants are still struggling to find good help. Through the process of people being laid off and on unemployment, it's amazing, nobody really has the answer, but it appears they've changed fields. People that were in the restaurant business are not in the restaurant business anymore. It's a tough business, it's hard, it's hot, fast-paced, and really didn't pay a whole lot going into COVID. Coming out of COVID, we gave everybody another $5 an hour to keep the people, our good employees. So we kind of got bumped into that minimum wage increase that didn't happen officially, but we did it anyways to try to keep our good employees. We kept my full-time people working even during COVID while we were closed. So we continued to pay them. They were valuable employees and we really wanted to keep them and keep the business going.
And what was the effect on?
Food costs went up at least 30%. That's on the average. Some items, were 70 to 80% increase. Manufacturing during that time cut down and products just weren't available. It was supply and demand.
And what was?
Food availability, excuse me. We purchased our products from Reinhardt Food Service, which is a big company, the majority of them. And Reinhardt, did their best to keep us stocked with what we needed, but there was a huge limit on all the products that were coming out due to the manufacturers having limited staffing.
And what was the ultimate effect on?
Well, our sales were cut in half during COVID.
And after most, if not all, of the restrictions were lifted, had another issue to deal with, which further.
I'm sure you're all aware we had the major construction project on Ardmore. It killed us. The 50% went down another 25%. So I was doing about 25% of the sales that we were doing prior to COVID. During that process, it was brutal. And we lost a lot of money. We wanted to continue to stay open though. So we made all the improvements on the building that we needed to. We put outdoor dining in. We had a tent for a period of time. We were running all kind of specials. Drew's Family Restaurant never couponed, ever. People came for the great product. And we continued to try to serve that product, but eventually we went into couponing to try to generate more sales. That didn't do it either. The people that were going in and out of the city weren't coming down Ardmore, or they were going to sit in that traffic jam. So it really hit us hard right after COVID.
So as a result of all those,
We did. We closed in January of last year after we didn't have any additional funds to put into the business. I am broke. It continues to cost me money sitting there empty. And it was a dream of mine. It's heartbreaking. It really is. I want you all to know, if I could be in business, I would be in business there. I personally work for Concordia Healthcare now, and I run dietary for their nursing homes and personal care homes. But I would much rather be in my own building operating a restaurant. In addition to all the cost factors, I was not able to find enough staffing, period. I was trying to pay top dollar to get cooks, servers, prep cooks, and everybody that's involved in a restaurant. I could not find good employees. I could not find people that would come to work and show up daily and work. So it was just an enormous struggle. We did everything we could. Off the record, $500,000 I've lost. I've lost $500,000 in this whole process. So again, I'm tapped, and we're just trying to open this thing up to some other potential buyers for that property. I know you don't want a car wash. I know that. That is our only offer on the table right now, is a car wash. That's it. We have no other offers. No restaurants are interested. Dan, I think, is going to talk about some of the restaurants, but I'm just here to tell you guys I did everything I could, and I lost. I lost the battle. And I don't have more money to put into the place. I don't think anybody's going to be able to find staffing, the staffing they need in the economy we're in right now at that location. In addition, just one other thing, my building is falling apart. That building is 80 years old. The roofs are leaking. The back portion of the restaurant is where the kitchen is. All the equipment was put up on the roof, and that's how they used to do it 30, 40 years ago. All that equipment has to come off the roof with a crane, and all new equipment, and the roof needs to be remodeled, new roof needs to go on, and then all the equipment would need to go back up or put somewhere else. That project is probably $250,000. Whoever buys the building is going to have to put into that place.
unless of course it's demolished and replaced with we could hopefully get achieve here.
And that's the more realistic picture here. We're looking for a bit, anybody really in their right mind, they're either real handy and real good at construction, or they're going to level that building. It's old. It's an old building. The basement and the front half of the building are very, very old. So that's one of the major problems, in addition to trying to find good employees.
You do? Okay,
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead, Mr.
Yeah.
DeCrosta.
Mr. Caswell, since the car wash, if this zoning would be changed, to help open up to other types of businesses, and the car wash is the only one on the table, is that what you're going for?
No. No, we're not going for a car wash right now. We're trying to open it up to the other automotive places, possibly a tire service center, something like that. I think that's what we're trying to accomplish tonight, to open it up if it was zoned commercial to other options. We're very limited on the options we're able to take advantage of right now.
Thank you.
Concern that the council is interested in. You have to provide a short narrative that the max location of the building traffic circulation on the property. All off-street parking areas adjacent to single-family dwelling. In order for you to grant conditional use, and that's a general conditional use requirement. Is protected under the conditional use.
Hold on one second. Any other questions?
I have a question, please.
As President Martin.
Thank you. Before we had a hearing where it was, we would like to have a car wash put here. Okay, so that was conditional use. It's unclear to me that if what we're doing today is proposing the change from S2 to B1, if it remains conditional use only, why are we even doing this? Is there some advantage? Does it open up to different businesses? Is that it?
Uses in the two districts are substantially similar. There's one or
Yeah.
two minor differences, but they're different. The uses are primarily. Big difference is the automotive uses, which has been almost the entirety of the interest that this property. Your dad testified to.
Any other questions from council?
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Fosbrink.
How does this benefit the residents of Forest Hills to make this change?
One, as you heard Mr. Caswell testify as to the condition of the building, you would have a building, probably with a new parking lot, new landscape. And, you know, last year, we appealed the tax assessment on this property. We had the assessed value. So taxes on the property, Borough, School District, County was 19,370. Revenue from this property as a result of the tax assessment. 75 cents to $2,766.75. 12,301.30, $8,379.30. So that's the benefit. You're going to be increasing your tax base. You're going to have a new building, new property, new improvements, and an operating business.
Thank you. And I guess another question. So if the goal is to open the property up for other uses, not just a car wash, are you planning to demolish the building right away?
That would be up to whomever buys it, because that would be part of their project costs.
So if you know going into it that the residents of Forest Hills don't want a car wash, I don't really see what the change is, how it's going to help you if we make this change when the residents have said, we don't want to see a car wash here. The environmental impact looks problematic for a borough that has one of the most green and efficient buildings in the county, if not the state. And I will tell you, as a person who led the community input sessions for our comprehensive plan, what I heard overwhelmingly from residents is we don't want Ardmore Boulevard to be like Route 22 in Monroeville or like McKnight Road in the North Hills. And I would say that most people have access to a car wash within 2 to 5 miles from where they are right now. So while I understand you're trying to open it up to other uses, it would seem that if it's tight on space and you're not just looking at a car wash, why wouldn't you spend the money to tear the building down to open that space up to other uses, because it would be easier to sell a vacant property, right?
Well, in my experience representing developers and construction lenders, the demolition costs are always part of a line item budget of the developer. Whoever buys that property, demolish the building and construct whatever they propose or whatever council approves. So there's no incentive for us to demolish the building now. And as you heard Mr. Caswell said, he already lost $500,000 in this deal. Demolition costs would easily be another 6 figures, given the way how much labor in the construction industry has gone up and disposal. This isn't a viable option.
Okay, thank you.
And as far as
Any other questions? Hold on. From council. I have one comment, but I'll let you go first, Mr. Reed.
As far as whether or not the community wants a car wash, I mean,
One thing I wanted to clarify for council, and Mr. Reed, could you put the listing, the side by side up? I'm not sure if there it is. So when Mr. Regan is talking about the differences, the one item I wanted to draw your attention to, council, is right above the, I guess it's the fourth from the bottom. It's right above the line that says accessory uses, and that is all other uses not specifically listed as permitted or conditional use in any zoning district. That's our catch-all. And so that's something where, if our ordinance isn't keeping up with the times, et cetera, sometimes that can bring uses in that we had not contemplated as of today. Or if we didn't move as swiftly as we could, perhaps with revising the zoning ordinance to add particular uses. So it is a conditional use, and that means it will come before the council, and you would have the opportunity to apply the conditional use standards and whatnot to get there. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that, in contrast to the way Mr. Regan put the light on this comparison chart. And then I have another comment, but I'm going to wait until after to talk to one of the real estate folks.
Without the catch-all, and anything that isn't specifically authorized, anybody can walk in with a curative amendment and not use anywhere in the district. So at least the catch-all provides you with a level of protection through the conditional use approval process.
That's why it's most everybody has that in their zoning ordinance for just that reason, to protect you against that type of, and we've always kept it in the B1 district. It's a smaller district. It's along Ardmore. That's where it's not in the neighborhoods or necessarily right next to the neighborhoods. So that's where I think council has landed for the 20 years I've been doing this with them, that's the best possible zoning district for that catch-all to be located. So, Mr. Regan.
She specializes in commercial real estate. That is what she has done for 25 years. Learned a lot from Susan, and I continue to learn. '23. Every commercial platform nation advertised to every major Burger King, to all of the commercial restaurants. We even had a contract with a Pittsburgh restaurateur who specializes, Glickman. I'm sure you've heard of Glickman Enterprises. They buy restaurants and lease them out. We had it under contract with him for 18 months, and he could not find a person that wanted to come into that location. We've had Burger King, McDonald's Cosmic, a Thai restaurant from Pittsburgh.
Let's go.
Lot size.
And McDonald's spin-off.
It's a breakfast chain they're opening up, and it's not opening up in this area yet. It's in the eastern part of the state in Ohio right now. Size. The Mexican restaurant, it just was too much for them in cost to convert that building into what they wanted to look like. Roof, it needed new equipment, so the cost was just. NTB, Goodyear, Flynn, and others. And the problem with that is they did their own due diligence and found that the zoning They were familiar with what had been proposed here previously and got shot down. Wanted a drive-through only, and again, the cost to be was too extensive. It was too much cost. Even if they didn't pay what the asking price was, it just to renovate that and make it a good restaurant again was too much for them. Yo's, they're all over Pittsburgh. I'm sure you're familiar with them, and the exact same scenario stood with them. Cost to make it their restaurant was just too extensive, and they didn't feel it could be supported in Forest Hills. They didn't feel that the community would be able to pay for their restaurant. Yes, they, exact same scenario, too much work to bring it, to make it their restaurant. And they felt it just hurt what they have. They're an ongoing business up in the, Robinson Township, and they just didn't feel that they could make the money here to support what they needed to do. Renovation cost, too extensive, and location.
It's too close.
Yeah.
Prohibited.
Let go zoning issue.
Clean wash also.
We had LOIs, letters of intent from each of them. And we still have a contract with one of them. Yes, yes. I mean, these buildings are not bumpy. They're beautiful, well-constructed businesses. They truly are. Take a look at the one out in North Huntington. That's the same company. They recycle all their own water. They keep all the water from it in their facility. Plus, they have electrical charging station. Lot size. Yeah. Those recently, I know Seth was familiar. Those have a diner in Altoona. They've been there for down here twice. And I know he'd spoken to Seth, and Seth, I know, had communicated to you people his interest in it. Out to me 3 weeks ago and said the location and the cost is just not suitable for him to bring a restaurant here. Going into Pittsburgh and coming back from Pittsburgh. Car wash, as much as you guys don't want it, that's been the only one that's been consistent saying this location. And these are major national retailers that say this location is good for what they want, is a car wash. I mean, we have 3 different car washes. 2 of them did LOIs and the other one is currently under contract. So the location is suitable for what they're trying to do, from cleaning to electric charge stations and just traffic flow.
Please step forward. President Martin.
Yes.
Hi, thank you so much. So through the list that you went through of businesses that were interested and cited different reasons why it wouldn't work, like the parking lot size and such, did any of those offer a lower price? And was that price refused?
No, actually,
Speak in the mic, sir.
actually, the owners had told Susan and I explicitly, they will consider every proposal that's sent to them, that they would be willing to take much less money, particularly for restaurants. Even what we did with Glickman, it was much less than the asking price for it. And for him to find a restaurant to come in here, 18 months, he could not find one that thought that that was a suitable location, making it fit what their facade should be. Not one person even was willing to offer a low price. They just said the location and the work that needed done was too much.
I couldn't hear that.
She's not testifying, so.
Okay.
Glickman manages restaurants all over Pittsburgh. He leases them. So he couldn't even get somebody to lease that. So, and we're gonna go to him again. We're trying to get a restaurant there. We would love, and they want to see a restaurant there. We can't do it. I'm telling you, we've hit every platform there is in this country to bring a restaurant here. I personally dialed their numbers, talked to their headquarters, all of these that I mentioned to you. It doesn't work for them.
I have a
Mr.
follow-up
Fosbury.
question.
Mr. Fosbrink has a question.
The list of the restaurants that you went through, obviously, I understand it's being recorded, but is that being provided as an exhibit? Because it's not here.
I do. I actually sent a copy of this to Seth. Yeah, I got you on email. That's what I printed this from today, was the email I sent to you. It showed every restaurant and everybody that's made an offer on this. Add to the bottom of that, Tom and Joe's Diner from Meltuna.
Mhm.
They were the ones that recently, and they actually called Seth and spoke to him.
And you mentioned that there was a willingness for a lower offer for restaurateurs through the Glickman. What was that listing price for restaurateurs? Okay, so Glickman was gonna buy the site,
Yes,
and did they make you an offer?
yes.
And that offer was rejected?
No, they were under contract for 18 months trying to find a restaurant to put in there.
So the offer was contingent on
Them
Glickman finding
So
a tenant.
it's more like like a listing agent with a real estate contract, right? They weren't, Glickman was not making an offer to buy the building from
He
you.
did. He
But it
signed a
was-
contract to buy it.
He found a
18 months.
restaurateur.
He gave him a 6-month extension.
If he found a restaurant
Well,
to
whatever
operate.
he could find, that's what they
Okay.
specialize in. If you pull up your Glickman, that's what they do in the city of.
So what was the Glickman advertised price?
For rent, I think, is what you're asking.
I'm just saying, I guess I'm not understanding. We keep saying that we can't find anybody for the property, and you said that Glickman had he was able to take a lower cost.
Yes,
So what was the cost that was being advertised? Okay. I'm just wondering.
yes, I will say that to you. You know, even with people, you have to sign non-disclosure agreements on what they're offering for it. That's a company we can't. Logan might want to, but
Understood. One follow-up question. Do you live in the borough of Forest Hills? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from Mr. Lyons? Okay, thank you.
thank you.
And finally, Susan Gill.
My name is Susan Gill. I'm the broker owner of Century 21 and the address. I'm sorry.
Need to speak into the microphone, ma'am.
I apologize. 128,000 square feet. Six. There's 4 office listings and then 2 other listings. Yes.
And is that currently for sale or is that space?
The vacant spaces are for lease, but the entire center is for sale. It's been on the market for probably 6 to 8 months. In its previous sale, it was sold on an auction site, and that was probably, I don't know, maybe 7 years ago that it was sold through an auction. And Avenue.
Sweet Peas Wash Works and
We're aware.
Yeah, the office market is hard. It's hard right now. And we tried really hard to get a restaurant. And to go to your point about would we demolish the building, I don't think that makes sense to do that. Because what if we did get a restaurant? Then we're limiting ourselves that we can't take a restaurant. I think it's clear that we can't take anything that has a drive-through. We just don't have, there's no way to get that backside to work. I think to your advantage, the traffic count is good. So that certainly makes it a marketable, property. But as far as a restaurant, I grew up also going to Drew's and, it's always been a nice restaurant. I really thought Kelly O's was one of the best fits for it. And she didn't feel that the community, there was enough demographics that could support her model. So definitely for us, the restaurant is, look, it's the easier route, right? Because if a person comes with a restaurant, they don't need to go through all of these steps. It certainly is a shorter route. Everybody says agents just want to sell it, right? It's definitely our shorter route and we haven't been able to achieve it. And I've been doing this 30 years and look, you have a nice community. It's just that's not working at the moment for a restaurant. At least none of them that we talked to. When we thought the Altoona Diner was another possible option, and then when he came through and said no. Yeah, any questions? Sure.
Mr. Bacon.
Thank you. So to clarify your statement about drive-throughs and some of the statements earlier about the conversion cost being an issue, is it your opinion that if the building were to be demolished, would there potentially be space for a new drive-through restaurant, in your opinion? Or do you think that is
I
likely
don't
not
think I don't
feasible?
think it's big enough. Maybe you could fit a drive-through that's that tiny coffee box that you go around, or a drive-through that's a bank that's just an ATM machine. But on the coffee side, you're really on the PM side coming home. So that really wouldn't be the coffee side, where Dunkin' Donuts is the coffee side, the AM side in the morning.
Thank you.
Mr. DeCrosta.
Not to keep on harping on the car wash, but if a drive-through can't fit through that area, how is a car wash going to fit?
Car wash is just a tunnel. You know, and I think like if the facade, is it the facade of the car wash that nobody wants? Or is it
No, I
you
think
want to have a community restaurant that brings people together? What, I'm just trying to understand. So what's the against the car wash? It's
Mr.
just- it-
DeFrosta isn't testifying. He's just asking
That's all.
questions.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. It was answered.
His question was around what's the difference between the car wash and a drive-through? They're both stacking cars. And,
I think as you're driving through it though. Well, most of
yeah,
them are
Ms.
kind-
Gill, I think Ms. Gill
And we've
addressed it.
seen how large these car washes are. And everyone that I've seen, nothing would fit in that space. We fit Dunkin' Donuts in a space, I believe, smaller than what we have at Drew. So I realize that it's been really hard to sell this property for a number of reasons. I saw the property with Mr. Caswell. It's really hard for me to sit here and think that nobody wants to be in our community with this kind of, I'm not taking it personally, but yeah, but yeah, we do too. And so I think part of the problem is that the building is in really bad shape. And so I don't think a lot of restaurants want to come in and spend all that money on a roof, fix the inside. So I don't think it's, I don't have the data behind me, but it doesn't seem to be the location or our community, which has been emphasized tonight. I think it comes down to the building.
Very specific, look.
Of course, sure.
Question is whether or not the market will bear it. And over the course of
I have a
Prospering.
question.
Mr.
It's-
Prospering.
It's been said a few times this evening that the demographics
Yeah.
have been voiced as the reason why the community can't support a restaurant. Can you explain that to me further? What are the demographics that restaurants feel that this community can't support a restaurant?
what it is in Forest Hills, but
Okay.
Other questions? Mr. Bacon?
One final question for me on just the layout and space allowance and stuff. Did any of those, I believe it was the three car wash proposals, did they specify self-service stalls versus a drive-through tunnel and what they had envisioned for that? Because I'm also having difficulty picturing a tunnel fitting in there where the drive-through can't.
And it is a drive-through. It isn't self-service.
Questions from council? Okay, that's good. We're good?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
thank you, Susan. the tax base of community. As I've already said, multi-assessment appeal last year, the taxes have already gone down. Common level ratio has gone down to 52.5%. Longer it stays vacant, the longer we can't sell it for any particular use. I guess going to continue to decline, and its contribution. I think that's it.
At this point, we will ask members of the public if you have any comments or questions for the applicant, or if you have comments or questions about the proposed rezoning ordinance or the text amendment ordinance, that you can come forward and state your name and address. Okay, going once. Ms. Lewis? Yes, please.
Thank you. Hi, Ann Lewis, 29 Fairview Road. As a resident of Forest Hills and hopefully a new council person, this proposal is extremely concerning to me. Listening to the testimony, spending a little bit of time on reviewing the zoning, they're asking for a permanent change to a zoning qualification because they're unable to sell a building. I feel that reading the logic behind these S districts, they're designed to be a buffer between a residential district and a business district. And so it feels different to me. It's not as if they have a buyer. I feel badly that they've not been able to sell the property, but I think asking a municipality to permanently change its zoning to open up uses that its residents have already said they don't want seems not smart to me. So as a resident, I feel that there are other mechanisms, and the testimony I heard this evening, the real estate agent indicated that there is ample property available for sale and lease in a district. And so I'm not even really sure that changing the zoning classification would engender new buyers. So it seems to me like a crapshoot that the borough would potentially end up with a buyer for a use that it doesn't want because of the zoning change. Thank you.
Ms. Lewis? Other members of the public? Ms. DeMarco? Name and address, and speak to be sworn in by the court reporter.
I do. My name is Patricia M. DeMarco. I reside at 616 Woodside Road in Forest Hills. Ladies and gentlemen, I speak to you as a private citizen and as a member of this community. And as you are aware, we spent a considerable amount of time developing a comprehensive plan of development for this community with considerable amount of input deliberately obtained from both the public sector, the residents, and the business district. And it was clear that as we're looking forward for the infrastructure and land use of this community going forward, we are looking at finding a model for small town America that is no longer the streetcar down the middle of the street with shops on either side that you walk to. And we're evolving toward a different kind of a community where the commercial and business areas provide third spaces where the community can gather, where you have business opportunities occur, where people can work at home, can find places for gathering and meeting and greeting. I don't think the kinds of things that are being proposed by changing a permanent designation of of the business zoning would enhance that objective. I think we are indeed looking at an aged building infrastructure throughout our business district. And we might perhaps seek ways to help the businesses upgrade their buildings, improve their energy efficiency, perhaps, improve facades, perhaps. And maybe we should look at obtaining a grant that would help the business district along the way toward that end. I think to capitulate and give up on this kind of long-term objective that's in our comprehensive plan, you might want to look at page 11, that would be forestalled if we put something in here that would then not be compatible with that future vision of third places where the community can gather. You think about art space, you think about, well, some sort of a bistro where people come, you think of a shared workspace, there are all kinds of things. And we have to market our community better as a whole. And I could talk to you about that at length at another time. So at that, I'll close at this point, and I thank you.
Ms. DeMarco, any other members of the public have a comment they would like to make? Seeing none. I will close the official hearing unless there are any objections from council. Seeing none, the hearing is closed. I do know that we have this on the agenda later, but if council doesn't want to wait, you can address both of those issues right now. Would you like to do that? No, I mean, I might have to put something on the record, so I want you to, that's why I'm asking if we could maybe address this. Willing to.
Are there any objections? Are we willing to go now then?
Okay.
Mhm.
So one thing I wanted to put on the record with the applicant as we are moving, we're going to move forward on the agenda to the planning and zoning matter, which is on the fourth page. And there are two proposed motions there considering each of the proposed ordinances. Under the ordinance section 13, 1305, 27-1305. At the conclusion of the hearing, council has 90 days to make a decision. And by my calculation, to the extent that council would not vote up or down on either and may wait to consider one or more of the options until later, the 90th day is Tuesday, August 19th. Which is one day before the August council meeting. So I wanted to ask on the record, Mr. Regan, Mr. Coswell, if you would agree to a 91-day time period that would go to council's August 20th meeting. Well, just in case they need the time to make the decision, it would take one additional day to get that to August. Otherwise, that they'll have no choice but to either have a special meeting before then or decide tonight or in June or July. So that's all. Just making a request to get that on the record if you're willing to do that or not. I'm not saying they're anticipating taking that. I'm just trying to think ahead as to an issue, and we have the court reporter here who can put that on the record for us. We'll take a brief break here while the applicant confers in the hallway. Okay, we'll go back on the record. Mr. Regan. Okay, very good. So members of council, there are two motions. Mr. DeCrosta, I believe this is your portion of the meeting.
Yes. So we've been given a lot to think about tonight, and in best interest of Mr. Caswell and the borough, I'm going to move to table this vote on this ordinance 1126, rezoning the property at 2060 Ardmore Boulevard, lot block 300-H-160 from S2 to a B1, and updating all maps to reflect said change.
Second. I was just going to say, there's a motion and a second, and it's a motion to table, so there's no debate. So I think we can do.
Thank you. Let's do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Are there any nays?
This will give us some time to discuss. Our second motion is to deny ordinance 1127, amending chapter 27 of the Borough Code, bifurcating the existing automotive service station use into major and minor uses. Is there a second?
Excuse me.
Comment?
Comment, is the motion to approve or deny or?
To deny.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bacon?
I just wanted to clarify for everyone in the audience that this is speaking about the one that would have changed the B1 zoning for that whole area. Not
This is
the
the
change.
text amendment that
Yeah.
we're considering, which would have the a minor and major auto services definition. So would apply to the entire S2 district.
Any other comments? May we have a voice vote, please? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. It's to deny it, but we say aye. Yeah.
To deny, aye.
I know, it's confusing.
Appreciate it.
Are there any nays to deny?
That's the end of this portion of the meeting, and we can return to our regularly scheduled programming. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to make a little change to the agenda. I'm sorry that you had to sit through all this. We had a busy, so would you please come up for the bird time presentation?
Thank you all for having me out. My name is Nick Stallman. I'm here on behalf of Audubon Society of Western Pennsylvania, as well as Birdtown, Pennsylvania. And I have been very excited when we were told that Forest Hills was interested in becoming a bird town. I sit on the outreach and planning committee for Birdtown. Application came in, I was blown away. As soon as I looked at the committee that was formed, I recognized some of the names, and there were some really known for their stewardship. I mean, I love driving through and seeing the big awning with the Tree City USA. I'm not native to Pittsburgh. I'm from the South, and on one of my visits, so I was excited. And tonight I want to say that whereas this community is working to promote conservation and stewardship through sustainable land care practices, habitat protection, and the restoration of natural system functions to create a healthier environment for birds, wildlife, and people, the Borough of Forest Hills is officially designated a bird town. Thank you all so much, and I really look forward to working with members from the Birdtown Committee to try to facilitate practices. Audubon Society of Western Pennsylvania is kind of said is the focal point for the southwestern PA bird town. So we're trying to connect you all. One of the ways is we're going to be able to provide $1,000 grant towards projects involved creating a better bird town, and that can be anything from plant gardens to nice community outreach to whatever you all can kind of come up with and we can support. But alongside the plaque, I also have 2 street signs for you all tonight and some additional materials. I'm happy to take any questions if you guys have questions about Bird Town or anything bird related.
Anybody? We heard a rumor that there was going to be a bald eagle flying around in the.
Yeah, I was told that there was a rumor that there might be a live bird. There is not a live bird tonight. However, we do have wildlife ambassadors. We have an American kestrel and an eastern screech owl, and that is programming that we can do. We've done them at the local libraries. So nice birds of prey programs where we actually bring them out. So
That might be something for the future.
we're happy to do them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And
Thank you, Pat.
I would love to get a photo with any council members and Bird Town committee.
We all going?
Yeah.
Let's
Hey,
go.
Madam President.
It's all up to you.
I was gonna say, you just get right back.
Up in the front or? Sure, like I'm happy to move.
Come on, Chuck. Oh, which way are we going?
No, we're, I guess.
Yeah.
Forest Hills side.
I guess, yeah. Buddy. That hot air comes naturally, brother.
Okay.
There we are.
Much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Almost my bedtime.
Okay, then we're going to continue on with the agenda as usual, which comes to my president's report, and I'll make this brief, but I had to say it for today. On behalf of council, we would like to recognize and thank the efforts of our police department, fire department, public works department, as well as the Woodland Hills EMS to keep our residents safe and our roads clear from debris during the severe weather that Forest Hills recently experienced. I would also like to thank our staff and manager for fielding calls and keeping our residents informed. Lastly, thank you to our residents for your patience, kindness, and care for one another during this period. Arbor Day was celebrated on Friday, April 25th, 2025 at the main park. Mayor Porco was not able to attend, and I was honored to read the proclamation to the students and teachers from Trinity Christian School, members of the Tree and Shrub Committee, as well as special guest Tree Pittsburgh. Council had a surprise planned to honor Mayor Porco's 2 decades plus of service to the borough of Forest Hills. The Shade Tree and Shrub Committee worked with Tree Pittsburgh, which donated and planted 2 American hornbeam trees to honor each decade of Mayor Porco's service. The trees were planted and can be seen at the main park. Thank you, Mayor Porco, for your 26 years of service as a member of council and our mayor. I think he deserves a hand. Lastly, The borough is starting invasive plant eradication in a new park this year, following the success achieved last year at the main park. We are starting to work in Ryan Glen Park, which is located at the intersection of Cascade and Batavia Roads on Saturday, May 31st, 2025, starting at 8 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. There will be water, gloves, and some clippers and loppers available, but please bring your tools if you have them. We look forward to seeing you and thank you for your help in beautifying our parks and saving the habitat of birds, bees, and butterflies. Thank you. That ends my report. Mayor Porco, may we have your report, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I'm going to try and abridge some of my report here because we covered some of this already during our president's report. But as President Martin mentioned, Arbor Day was April 25th, and I also wanted to just take a moment to thank Tree Pittsburgh, Trinity Christian School, as well as the Tree and Shrub Committee for all the work that they do to make sure that that celebration is as wonderful as it is. It's a longstanding tradition, and it's also something that we do to kind of maintain our Tree City USA status. And so I've always looked forward to it every year as mayor, to meet with the kids and talk about the importance of trees in our community. Unfortunately, this year I was called out of town and could not participate, but I was honored to learn that a couple of trees were planted in my honor, and that was very touching. And so thank you to the council and to the committee and to Tree Pittsburgh for doing that. It meant so much. I don't know if you heard it or not, but we had a pretty substantial storm rip through the borough about 3 weeks ago. And so I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes talking about that, mostly in response to some of the questions that I was kind of able to pull off of social media. But first, before I go into that, I just wanted to take a moment to recognize the efforts of all of our emergency services: Forest Hills Police Department, Forest Hills Volunteer Fire Department, Woodland Hills EMS, Forest Hills DPW. We take it for granted. I say it a lot in our meetings. We take our emergency services for granted. I was actually out of town the day the storm hit, and I received a phone call from our fire chief, Rick Colella, who basically was out touring the damage both during and after the storm, and he kind of relayed the message that, man, this is really, really bad, and you need to immediately declare a state of emergency. So, declarations of state of emergency, for those of you who are maybe listening out in YouTube land, essentially is a procedure that communities can adopt that basically frees up the mayor to actually act as the executive officer of the borough or the borough or community that they serve. Most of the time when you're procuring services, there's a process and a procedure that is followed where you're going out soliciting bids. Those bids are then vetted by council, and then council votes on that in an official capacity at their meeting because it's an expenditure of public funds or tax dollars. And it's a great policy and procedure that should be followed because we are tasked with being good stewards of tax dollars that are coming in. In cases of emergency, where declarations of emergency are made, that essentially bypasses that entire process and enables the mayor to act basically in the capacity of the decision maker in that time of need. Because oftentimes, if, for instance, as an example, subcontractors needed to be hired to help clear the debris and remove trees from the roadway, et cetera, we can just go ahead and make those decisions in real time rather than taking that back for a vote, et cetera. So when a declaration of emergency is made, that's primarily the driver of why that sort of thing happens. Additionally, sometimes when declarations of emergency are made, it also enables or qualifies the community to be recipients of any kind of state or county aid or funding that might be available. Now, in the case of this storm, believe it or not, despite the damage that was
that occurred in our community, we most likely will not be recipients of any state funding or most likely even county funding. Not for individuals and not for the community, because we just simply did not meet the threshold in terms of dollars of damage. But just so that everybody kind of understands why a declaration of emergency is made, that's essentially why, right? I think in the time that I've been mayor, I think we've had 3 declarations of emergency, if that. So it's one of them was during COVID. So that's not something that we just do willy-nilly. I mean, the scope and severity of what's going on in that time has to be to a point where we just know that we need to act quickly in order to make sure that lives are saved. And I'm not trying to sound dramatic, but sometimes those decisions need to be made in real time and not taken back to a committee for further deliberation and then voting upon it. So that's kind of a reason why we declare a state of emergency. But I did want to just take a moment to kind of acknowledge the work of Rick Colella, who's our fire chief. And he was primarily a conduit with Allegheny County Emergency Services and the borough. And out there along with our police department, along with our ambulance service and our volunteer fire department. But he was really, I have to say, leading the charge, the entire updated, communicating our needs to Duquesne Light, communicating our community's needs on a standing call that occurred with Allegheny County Emergency Services during the entire of the emergency. So, I mean, and in the end, I would say about 85%, and don't hold me to it, but this is just roughly gauging. I'd say about 85% of our powers were stored in the community 2 days after the storm. I know people who went without power longer. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, so here we go. But I'd say 85% of the community did have their power restored, and then we probably got to about 90% by the Friday following the storm, and then we kind of went into a lull, and that remaining 10% basically sat there for an additional 4 or 5 days, right? I just wanted to kind of stress upon everybody who's listening. As much as I would have loved to have chained the folks from Duquesne Light to the community till they left, that's just simply not in our purview. And at the end of the day, decisions are made, by Duquesne Light on how to deploy resources. Some of those resources were simply pulled because they needed to go tend to primary care facilities and hospitals, who are kind of bound by regulatory requirements to be off of generators after a certain amount of days. So certainly that was understandable. I did want to take an opportunity to thank the workers from Duquesne Light. Those folks are basically just operating at the direction of their superiors, but they were out there busting their butts and helping as best as they could. We also, I think, took this as an opportunity to learn that, I think, and I believe that the people who were involved in kind of evaluating this emergency that we experienced, these type of weather systems are going to become more and more the norm in our community. And so I think that we, as a community, owe it to ourselves to revisit our emergency plan. We have over a 400-page document, believe it or not, that we kind of use as a Bible and reference, which I think primarily Rick knows very well. I know somewhat. I think our chief knows very well, right? But those are our key folks who kind of follow that manual and procedure and policy process. But we're going to actually hold a couple of after action meetings. So every department head from the Department of Public Works, Fire Department, and EMS all been tasked with conducting their own after event assessment. What did we do right? What could have used improvement? What do we need to do in terms to be sure that we're better prepared the next time something like this occurs in our community? Tomorrow, we're actually coming together to kind of cross-reference those after action plans and take a look at that holistically as a group so that we all understand, because we are all working together when something like this happens, what's going on. So that's kind of a department head type decision making
Those findings will then be shared with council, probably in a workshop session. And then we'll kind of talk about next steps in terms of how to amend things, maybe purchases that need to be made, putting things on like long-term capital planning, budgets, et cetera, et cetera. So any questions so far in terms of what I've covered with regards to the storm? So that's essentially it. But I got to tell you, and I'm sure Rick is going to go into this in a lot more detail during his report, but wind speeds in our community were pretty devastating storm, and it followed a pretty significant. And as soon as I returned back, I think I landed the very next day after the storm, and the very first thing I did was to go out and tour the damage. So I think we just owe it to ourselves to make sure that we're prepared as best as possible. After action plans are going to be a part of that process. Okay, moving on. Memorial Day, we're having our Memorial Day program as we hold every year. It'll be here at the building on Monday, and it'll be at 10 a.m. with a light reception. That is something that the borough does in conjunction with the Forest Hills Rotary. But if you're available, we'd love to see you out here and take an opportunity to honor our fallen veterans. And then on June 1st, we are going to have an official dedication of the Rec Center, and I'll go into a little bit more of that during the Forest Hills Community Alliance transition to, with your permission, Madam President. Thank you. So we're going to have a ribbon cutting ceremony. It's Sunday, June 1st, kind of breaking in the new band shell. The program starts at 5 and ends at 7. We're going to have Cello Fury performing, which is kind of a, well, they're not kind of, they're a cello rock group, and they're actually right here in Forest Hills, two of the principal founders of that organization. Our residents here in Forest Hills. And so we're really looking forward to that. Bring your lawn chairs, bring your blankets. It's going to be a wonderful evening. We're going to talk a little bit about what the Forest Hills Community Alliance Station. Secondly, the Forest Hills Community Alliance had another board meeting last night. And just to kind of keep council updated, we're in the process of making application of grant monies to do an assessment of our innovation and technology. Farmers Market is currently held. So just to be clear, it's where it's held. It's not going to go away in place of. It's actually going to be incorporated into the innovation park. So we're currently exploring options for grant money. So stay tuned on that as we make application. Hopefully we're awarded and forward with the assessment and the study. And then lastly, we'll be presenting our study, our findings from the vision plan, which we already shared with Forest Hills members of the council, with the planning commission. And so that meeting is scheduled. Put into that, and then we're going to start. That concludes my report, and thank you once again for to take a selfie in front of them. That's going to be. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mayor Porco. Mr. Abrams, may we have your manager's report, please?
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to quickly just echo, I think, everyone else in the appreciation, especially Chief Colella, Chief Williams, Sergeant Petrie, and Mike Smith for being my eyes literally 24/7 during the storm and the cleanup. I was out in the community doing my own damage assessment, talking with residents for a couple hours each day. But every morning I had a report from the overnight, things that had changed, what was going on before I came in. What happened after I left. So it made life much easier and allowed us to communicate with the residents. Otherwise, I have Three things. As usual, the tax report right now, tax revenues are coming in higher than I had budgeted. They came in quite well, coming up into the end of the discount period. We'll still see, but I predict that we will be somewhat better than last year as far as percentages of collections. Secondly, I got two updates today that I did want to share with council. One was actually an email from the state, just reminding everyone that if you have federal grants, of which we have one that is passed through the state, that they're recommending that we move as quickly as reasonably possible, because they can only release the money if they get it and the federal government doesn't pull it back. Our one grant is from DCNR for the tree inventory and planting. We already have 50% of that money, so the pieces that we have put in play are safe and we can continue without concern. But this is also a kind of forewarning of what may occur in the future with any other grant applications. The second piece has to do with the tree inventory. I've been working with the Tree and Shrub Committee, specifically Mark Kybach, to really fine tune and get the RFP ready to go. We do believe we have it ready for advertising and distribution to find a qualified agency to perform the tree inventory, which would include identifying every borough tree, tagging it, finding its size, its health, and so forth. And we've been working, our intern is already working and has the data geocoding pretty much ready to go to make sure that our RFP meets the specs of what we need and what will be needed follow the grant. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Abrams. Chief Williams, may we have your report, please?
Thank you, President Martin. Again, I thank you all for your, thanks for what we all were able to do. I have to say that a team effort is always the way this is done. And our command post at the fire hall certainly played a big role in that, where we were able to designate different people to go in different directions to look for damage. And I think the biggest point of all is the fact that nobody was injured. And I have to say that some of the homes that were hit by some of these very large trees, I mean, the homes were crushed. I'm amazed that nobody inside those homes were injured. So we're very fortunate. And again, hopefully in the next one, we'll be just as well prepared as we were for this one. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chief Williams. Mr. Corbel, your solicitor's report?
Nothing to report this evening, Madam President.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Moving on then to our other committees and board reports. Mr. Bacon, anything?
Nothing this month.
Mr. Lawrence?
Yes, very quickly, Mr. DeCrosta, the borough manager, and I attended a conference in April that involves everyone from all the municipalities in Allegheny County. It's very good because there are seminars that council members can attend to learn things they probably don't know. And most importantly, it's a chance to actually meet people like us with all the similar problems or dissimilar problems, and learn more about what we can do to improve and also what we're doing better than a lot of other folks are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Mr. Bioki?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Erbaldinger?
Nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. Then we are going to move on to the presentations from council candidates.
If I may, since our fire chief is here, can we give him the floor for 5 minutes just to kind of run through his report from the storm?
Sure. Okay, just a second, huh? Chief Colella?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. For the April report for the fire department, from April 1st to 28th, but for the storm period, 6:00 p.m. on the 29th of April, 6:00 p.m. on the 30th of April, on the 63 calls. 5 trucks on the road for 2 days, assessing the damage. report these to Duquesne Light, because that's the way how you have to do it. You have to go, look, and report to Duquesne Light. And as I told many folks, if there's a wire on the ground, it's considered live, it's hot. Don't touch it. Even in Allegheny County, there was 2 fatalities. Someone got electrocuted. Try to put that out to the residents. We go out, we look, we mark them, we call Duquesne Light. We don't cut wires, we don't move wires. Instructed the Public Works the same way. Touch them, don't take a chance. Even though you think it's a cable wire, it could be touching an electric line somewhere else. Cautious in this of it. But William said, we had a command post at the firehouse. I had Adam from the ambulance, he's also a fireman. He was running all the calls, telling everyone where to go. Radio system was overwhelmed. So I just instructed them to put our calls on our CAD, our computer-aided dispatch. Caught up with them later at night to report all our incidents to Duquesne Light. Park there, we were able to on speed dial, but they were able to get to the critical infrastructure. They have their priorities, and it's public safety, critical infrastructure, and then they start doing a residential. Oh, something in as a priority, it would fall into their protocols. But with the support of the mayor, the manager, the public works, the police department, and the ambulance, we had a good night. And like Chief Williams said, there was no injuries, and we didn't report nothing for them.
Thank you, Chief Colella. Ms. Lewis.
Introduce my wife, Karen, my biggest fan. Thank you for asking me to say a couple words. I do want to say one thing, since we've been talking about the storm. That night after the storm, it was the first time that Karen and I felt we needed to go to the basement. But immediately after the storm happened, we saw people coming out, looking, assessing damage, helping other people, helping our neighbors clean their yard. It was an opportunity for me to fire up my chainsaw, which was exciting. But what was really nice about that is, as I said in my letter to council, since Karen and I moved here about 2 years ago, we feel as though this is a place where we belong, where we want to grow deep roots. And I want to be able to give back to my community. I feel that this is a place where my voice can be heard, my skills can be utilized. My resume shows I have couple decades of experience working with and around local governments. I understand what they do. Tonight's long hearing and discussion and the decision that council will have to make regarding the property on Ardmore illustrates that, as does Mayor Porco's summary of basically a disaster and that impacted our community. And so I'm excited post the election results. I'm flattered, and I'm excited at the opportunity to be able to serve and give back. So I'm hoping that council might consider me to step in the interim in lieu of, and to replace Marcus for the rest of his term, since he's chosen to step down. So that's it. Questions for me?
Thank you, Ann. Appreciate that. Moving on to the public comment portion of our meeting. At this time, citizens may address council on any issue, whether appearing on today's agenda or not. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Forest Hills will be permitted to address council. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before council who may speak for a maximum of 10 minutes. Citizens are asked to use the microphone at the speaker stand. Clearly state their name and address for the record and keep comments brief and to the point. Please spell the name for the record. Lastly, speakers are reminded that council uses these comment periods as opportunities to gather information and not to respond directly to concerns raised. Information gathered will not be discussed at the business meeting, but instead will be referred by the council president to the appropriate committee for review and discussion at the next committee meeting. Are there any speakers? He had his hand up first. I'm sorry.
We'll get you there. Good evening, folks. My name is Bruce Sivak. I live at 521 Decatur Avenue in Forest Hills. In the fall of 2023, I addressed this council regarding the conditions of our street, 500 block of Decatur. At that time, the borough engineer assured me that the 500 block would be a priority in the 2024 paving season since 2023 was already completed. 2024 came and went. And I was very discouraged, disappointed, and just PO'd when we were paving alleyways.
Please speak into the microphone. If you turn your head, we can't hear it. Sorry.
I'm looking directly at you, President.
Thank you very much.
Anyway, at that meeting, Mr. Wilkins, he was the, Watkins, I think his name was.
Watkins, yeah.
He was in charge of Department of Public Works. He came out the next day and he assessed the street and he agreed that it was in very poor condition. Same morning, Public Works came out, dug up all the holes that were there out of the loose gravel, put some adhesives down, and then they paved it. It took care of the problem on a temporary basis. Unfortunately, like I said, 24 came and went. During 24, they've patched at least 2, possibly 3 more times during that year. In February, I sent Mr. Abrams an email with my concerns, and he addressed me that same day. He responded quickly, which I appreciate very much. He unfortunately noted that the rating that Decatur Avenue had was not high enough or low enough of a rating to have it repaved. Well, I strongly disagree. When I see alleyways being paved that are alleyways, they're not residential streets, very concerning. But I accept that's what the engineers had said. But whenever the engineers from 2023 says priority and we get bypassed for a whole year, that's concerning. In early May, President Martin, she emailed me back, letting me know that it's being looked at. She came and assessed the street, and she was going to let the engineers know that the condition is very poor. Well, let me tell you how poor it is. This is what you've got going on the 500 block of Decatur. If you're not aware, 500 block is a very steep hill. Just this past, or 2 Fridays ago, the garbage truck coming down the hill hit one of these with his front wheel. He slid about 20 feet. Fortunately, no cars were parked on the street. If you would have had cars parked or someone crossing that street, you would have killed somebody. No one else. You, the council, the ones that are responsible for the street. These are only 3 pieces, 3 that I can carry. There's at least a half dozen more sitting on there now, just from the time you came out. The residents are picking them up, getting them off of the street, putting them on their sidewalks, and some just putting in their backyards, which I don't understand why. This is me go back. After President Martin came out and sent me her email saying that they're going to look into it, engineers going to address it, the next day, Tree Cities Times came out. To much my dismay, we were paving alleyways again. New alleys that don't even have a name. How do you pave an unnamed road? It doesn't even have a name. Something I did in the past few days, I took that list, I drove those streets and alleys, the ones that we had names for. A couple of them, yeah, they're deteriorating. But there's others, they're not that bad. They're not anywhere close to what I have in front of my house. I urge every single council person to go out, get that list that came out in the Tree City Times, drive those streets. Then you come down Decatur Avenue, not up the hill, come down the hill from Marion all the way to the bottom. And I'll guarantee you, you're going to say, this is bad. I'm asking council to address this and have it repaved this year. And if someone says, oh, we can't do that, yes, you can. You take some of these alleyways that are scheduled to be paved and you put those on the back burner. Some of those alleyways, they could be patched by the road crew. They have the technology. They patch all the time. They patch my street. The slab in front of my house has at least 5 different colors of asphalt. That's been patched in the past 2 or 3 years. Historically, and I'm going back more than 10 years, yes, sir. My time is up. I'll make it quick. Folks, get this taken care of before we have to go to the next step. We don't want to embarrass anybody, especially our town. I've been here 38 years. I love this town. I put a lot of time in here. It's time somebody address this issue. Thank you. Want these for your collection?
Mr. Slovak, would you give your email address, please, to Mr. Fosbrink? He's now the Chair of Public Works. Thank you. Anyone else?
Or a plaque with your bird plaque. Okay, I'm gonna try to be brief. We're all tired, I'm sure. I'm William O'Connor. I go by Connor, and it's OCONNOR. I live at 257 Cascade. And I'm here again about traffic control. And I have some information here. Surpassed 60% requirement for 3 streets, acres, which is Cascade, Castlegate, Bevington. And specifically, what has been discussed with overwhelming support from the community is a few things. I just want to touch base on because first of all, we absolutely want regular speed bumps through the street. The intersections on said streets completely reassessed. They're outdated. I hate to say archaic in some cases. There are a couple of intersections with absolutely no signage or road paint at all. And I am going to refrain from telling you the stories of my experience simply walking around speaking to my neighbors. How many times I was almost run over, how many stop signs I saw blasted through by people, how many times I've witnessed my neighbors almost getting run over, et cetera. So, but we do want the assessments redone for in relationship to cost, which is a big issue. We did review the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation recommendation guidelines. There are a lot of grants that are available for these projects, including and specifically requested are the intersection bumps put in all way directions, force people to have to stop at our stop signs. Force people to have to look in every direction before they go through an intersection. I will say that I do appreciate, and so does many of my neighbors, as we've spoken, that after I was here last time, you did send out some, or at the very least, I'm sure warned about their running speed. I realize you can't do that every day. So this is our way of helping to enforce. Getting our community and safe. I don't want to say anything else. I apologize for the delay getting it to you. I was ready when the storm hit and I felt that that was precedent. So I do have an official copy, so I need to know who needs that copy. And then I have a quick paper just to summarize the discussions that we had through the community for everybody. And then I have a couple of extra copies of the signatures, and I just.
Do you get the?
Yeah, I get the original and I will distribute it to the Public Safety Committee along with any other documentation that you would like me to distribute to council or the committee.
Nope, that's it. The last thing I want to say is that our support and response has been absolutely overwhelming. And at request specifically, and out of concern, we are actually expanding our effort into so many people absolutely want.
Thank you. Anyone else? We're going to move on to the start of the business meeting. Mr. Lawrence, are you ready with ops and policy?
Yes, Madam President. Since I'm remote, I think for everyone's sanity, I'll pass this on to the vice chair to handle tonight. Mr. Baoki.
Yes. I have a motion to approve the minutes from the April 1st, 2025 and April 16th, 2025 meeting.
Second.
Any comments? May we have a voice vote, please, then? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
That's all I have for operations and policy.
Thank you, Mr. Baoki. Moving on to finance, Mr. Erbaldinger.
Thank you, President Martin. I have a motion approval of the April bills totaling $1,024,044.50. The details can be seen in the agenda.
Second.
Any comments? May we have a voice vote, please? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. I have another motion to affirm the appropriation of $318,314 from the Borough's Building Fund and authorize the manager to execute all necessary documents to facilitate the purchase of the solar panels at 4400 Greensburg Pike, this building, from Forest Hills PPA.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments? Mr. Bacon?
I'm wondering if Mr. Abrams could remind us, please, just the expected savings over the course of this. I believe 600,000, something like that.
The total savings versus the contract is about 586,000. Once you take out the price of the actual purchasing the panels, it's still well over $250,000.
Thank you.
Other comments? May we have a voice vote, please, then? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. And I have a very brief comment. As you all know, this is my last business meeting. I'm doing that for 14 years. And I would like to thank, I won't mention everyone's name, all the current and retired council members, the two mayors I had the pleasure to working with, the two managers, our employees, the citizens I was working with, our engineers and our attorneys. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. Moving on then to Borough Property, Mr. Bacon.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to accept the high bid of $5,700 from Jacob Jimenez for the 2019 Ford Explorer as listed on Municipid.
Second.
Any comments? A voice vote, please. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Next, I move to approve Resolution 1289, authorizing the application to the state's GTRP program for $250,000 for the Cook Park bathroom construction project.
Next. Comments? I'd like to make a brief comment. We tried for this grant last year and we didn't get it, so we're trying again next year. So wish us luck this time. Anything else then? May we have a voice vote, please? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And thank you. That concludes the Borough Property.
Thank you. I believe you took care of everything during your, Mr. DeCosta. Any other comments?
No, good.
Okay. Then moving on to Public Works, Mr. Fosbrink.
Thank you, Madam President. Motion to approve the base bids from A. Liberoni Incorporated for the 2025 road paving program with a total cost of $750,720.41, with funds coming from the liquid fuels and road funds.
There a second?
Second.
Any comment?
Just in light of our public comment tonight, would we be able to amend any of this after this is approved if needed?
Any
Just
other?
For the record, since there was no mic, those were sealed bids, so anything would have to be a change order in addition to what was done.
What was already, yeah.
Right.
That's
So it
what
would
I
have to
thought.
be negotiated.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? May we have a voice vote, please? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion to accept the bid from Instaform Technologies for the base bid and all alternates for contract 24-S3 in the amount of $393,113 with funds appropriated from the sewer fund for sewer work to be completed for the Alcosan regionalization project.
Second.
Are there any comments? May we have a voice vote, please? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
That's all I have for Public Works. Jessica is in for our engineer. Is there anything that you need to add for Public Works? Okay, thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Fosbrink. Moving on to Public Safety, Mr. Bioki.
Thank you, President Martin. I move to approve a resolution authorizing the manager to execute highway occupancy permit applications and associated documents to PennDOT for the placement of driver feedback signs on Ardmore Boulevard and Greensburg Pike.
Second.
Any comments? May we have a voice vote, please? All in favor, say aye.
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 That concludes public safety.
Thank you, Mr. Bioki. Is there any old business anyone would like to bring up? Any new business? Okay, then I move to adjourn the meeting by acclamation. Are there any objections? Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.